Alright, so I want to come and make a sunshade on this particular model where the blue piece is. So in order to do that, what I'd like to do is create a reference plane to draw upon. And so to do that, I'm going to come to my east elevation, go to the draw panel and plane, left click, make sure that you have the blue alignment line that tells you that you are at parallel to the 0 plane. Left click and it creates a reference plane. We're looking at the end of the reference plane. It actually, expands out perpendicular to our eye. Now I'm going to go to modify, select that reference plane, and I'm going to name it. So I'm going to name it top. Okay. And I want this reference plane to be coincident with the top of this wall. So I'm going to use the align command, which is up here in your modify. So select that. Pick the top of the wall and then pick the reference plane. It's going to move the reference plane to the top of the wall. You just have to remember to pick the thing you don't want to move first. Now you see it's also giving me an option to lock that reference plane to the top of that wall. I don't really need to do that, so I'm not going to constrain it. Alright, it wants to do more alignment, so I'm going to select modify to stop the align command. Go to my default 3D view, and you will see that I now have that plane there. Now one thing that's useful to do when you first start modeling in Revit is you can come to this work plane tab and go to show, and it will now show you which work plane is current, which right now that one is current. And what I want to do right now is I want to create a surface here in the same place that this blue sort of roof is in. And to do that, I'm going to come over here and pick rectangle. And you can see you have placement plane here, and it says placement plane top. Now, if you pick placement plane top, it's going to draw on the work plane. So if I come and draw on the work plane, you notice it's not snapping to anything that is not on that work plane. So I'm going to left click on that bottom corner and then left click on that bottom corner, and it's going to create a rectangle, and it's also going to make a surface from closed loops. You want to make sure that that's checked. I should have mentioned that at the beginning, but make sure that's checked. Now, it wants to make more rectangles, but I don't want to make any more, so modify. And then I'm going to select this blue roof, and there's a pair of sunglasses down here, and I am going to hide that element in this view. So you can see that we now have a plane right in that place. Now, what I would like you to do now is to start testing the shadows. So what you want to do, of course, is set your sun up. So you've done this before, sun settings. I just have mine set to Austin, Texas for June the 7th at 3 p.m. and I want to test between, let's say, 11 and 3 p.m. Alright, I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to turn my shadows on so I can see my shadows. And I'm going to say that my goal is to have half of this sort of seating area shaded between 11 and 3. And you can see that I'm obviously not reaching that goal right now. If I swing this guy over towards 11, it's a little better there, but really I'm not reaching much, right? I'm going to have to go ahead and maybe pull this over and out. So to do that, you can come in and tab select the edges of this surface to move them. So if I come in and say select that edge, you see you get a listening dimension here, and you get move arrows. You can, if you want to move it make sure it's a particular distance, you can use that listening dimension and say like 14 feet, and it will move it out 14 feet. Right? You can align things, so I could come up and select the align command and pick that wall and then pick that line, and it would align it to that. I could pick that face and it would align that, so now I've got the entire thing covered. I'll come in and say pick that face and pick that line, and it aligns it to that. So very quickly I'm sort of just testing Just testing to see. So I've got half of it covered at 11. Let's see what it looks like at 3. Right? That's pretty good. I mean, I'm close to half, right? If not completely half at 3. So we could go ahead and, continue to alter this if we wanted to, but I'm going to leave that there and say, all right, that's kind of good enough for me right now. I may not have gotten the entire half of it, but sort of close enough. It also looks like I could probably pull it back on this end a little bit. So, I could make this maybe 7 feet, maybe 6 feet, right? And then maybe I just want to take that and copy it, from there to there, and let's make that maybe 2 feet. So we got a couple of surfaces, right, that we're using. Okay, so just work on reaching a goal or placing a shade. You could also do this vertically. So for example, you can make a reference plane that's vertical. This is the center one. You could draw, on that and create a surface and use that if it were vertical on that wall, right? So it doesn't have to be horizontal. Okay. All right, so for the next one, we'll divide the surface.